Hi, everyone, and welcome to the IIHF Skills for All. My name is Joel Henson. I'm the IIHF Officiating Development Manager and the one moderating today's Skills for All and walking you through our session with two amazing speakers. The IIHF Skills for All is the webinar series where we really try to combine the best knowledge from all around the world and spread that out to you watching this, regardless if you're invited into this webinar meeting or if you watch us live on Vimeo or on our website. We truly believe that this is a great opportunity to share knowledge from some of the best professionals around the world and where you can implement this, whether you are in a club, you're in a local federation, or you work at the national federation at any place around the world. So I'm not going to be very long today, but I would like to start off by giving a few housekeeping rules or how we work around this webinar, and also have an opportunity to introduce some of our speakers. As you can see, this is the 5th IIHF Skills for All for this season. Today's topic is called Targeted Development. I'm not going to go too deep in that now. I will let our speakers talk a little bit about the work that they have done with specific development activities within their federation. So who better than talking about this than people that are really active in different aspects of our programs, and especially when it comes to important target groups. In our targeted development today, we have decided to bring in people that have really looked into developing their programs and curriculum around coaches. So this is kind of a double-edged sword when we have our Skills for All. We have a couple of participants that are with us here over Zoom in a webinar format. And for you Zoom participants, we ask you please to mute your microphones if you have the possibility to keep your camera on, and if possible to change and update your name in the meeting so that we also can track a little bit if you have any questions and see who's asking these questions and where you're from. If you have a question, we have a chat function over Zoom that you can use. And we ask you to do this as soon as you have a question. You don't have to wait until the end, but we will wait until our speakers are done to lift up your specific question. If you're not participating here via our Zoom meeting, you're more than happy to join in any of our social media. And I would recommend that you can ask us question over Twitter. We will track our Twitter account throughout the presentation today. And if you tag us and you use the hashtag Skills4All together with your question, we have the opportunity to find that out on Twitter. You can interact, and we ask you, please do so if you're following this on Vimeo or on our website. If you come in now a little bit late as we have started, or if there's something you would like to see again from this webinar, well, don't you worry. You can always go into the iihf.com website, and you can go into our development hub where we upload both the presentations from our speakers, but also a recording from our webinars that you can look on afterwards or share with friends or colleagues within the ice hockey family where you are working. So that was a few of the housekeeping rules and instructions around this webinar. Let's now move on to the fun part and the really interesting part that we have coming up today. That is really our speakers. We're happy to have some really top nation joining us in today in this topic of targeted development. Our first speaker today is coming from the Swedish Ice Hockey Association, is Mr. Anders Wahlström, and he's also a part of the IIHF Top Mentorship Committee. A colleague from the mentioned Top Mentorship Committee is the second speaker today. It's from the USA Hockey, Mr. Bob Mancini, that will also give his take on the work that USA Hockey have done with targeted development. So again, I'm not going to speak too long here today. I'm going to give the floor already now to our first speaker, Mr. Anders Wahlström from Sweden. I ask you, Anders, to please unmute yourself, put on the microphone, and share your screen to start your presentation here. So, Anders, welcome to the Skills for All, and thank you for joining us here today, sharing the experience from the Swedish work with targeted development. The stage is yours.
Thank you, Joel. Just checking on the sound. Is it okay? Perfect. Hope that everyone will find this presentation useful. I will start to share my screen, see if it works. Joel, just give me a thumbs up if everything's fine.
All looks good.
All looks good. Great. As you my name is Anders Wallström. I'm the Director of Development at the Swedish Ice Hockey Association, and was happy to say yes to the question I got from Joel and Kalivalia to present to this event. We're going to dig a little bit deeper into our recently restructured coaching education program and give you an overview of that. For the understanding of it all, I will start by giving some context surrounding this coaching education program so that you get a better understanding of why we are aiming at the direction that we're doing. And then I'm going to try to exemplify with our basic courses on how we are structuring them when it comes to amount of hours and everything, but also a little bit about the content. Because I think for many of you countries that have less resources than we do, I think these examples are more suitable to adapt into club level directly, and also for small M&As to adapt. Hopefully, and don't hesitate to contact me afterwards as well if you have any questions or things that you're wondering about regarding this presentation. We have in Sweden since 5 years almost a development model that we call it the home field model, and it all aims to get every one of our approximately 330 clubs to have a good home environments for the players, for the coaches, and for the other people that are engaged in the club. We want the environment to be as good as possible for as many people as possible to stay there as a player, at least up until the age of 15, 16, before they eventually move on to hopefully a good elite career. But up until the age of 15, 16, we want every club to deliver a really, really high quality hockey education for all the players, regarding of their ambition at the time, the skill level at the time, and all of that. Therefore, that are important for us that our coaches know quite a lot about what we can call talent development with all those complex processes that surrounds all of that. So what our development model aims for is to give the players in each and every club, as I said, regardless of their ambition at the time or the skill level at the time, the opportunity and the conditions to develop both as a person, but of course also as a hockey player, in order to help them be the best they can if they themselves are aiming for that. Our coaching curriculum aims to give our coaches, and actually also the other people that surrounds the sporting part around each and every team, to deliver a program that we know are necessary for the players to develop in the direction that we want them to develop. So that's what our coaching curriculum aims for, to help the coaches get ready to deliver high quality environments during practices, during games, during all the other time that they spend with our players. But in order to make that happen, the clubs also need to have some knowledge that surrounds the complex processes of player development and high performance environments, so that they can support the coaches the best way possible. So we work actually with 3 different layers of in this development model. It's for the players, it's for the coaches, and for the clubs as well. So we get some kind of common understanding for the necessity that each and every player needs to be aware of to get the best out of every hour they put into hockey, actually. So that's for the context. Another context picture is this one. For the coaches in Swedish hockey, as I said, we have approximately 330 clubs. We have in almost every club a ladder of teams from our hockey school amongst the youngest up to till the senior level. So in most clubs there are like 12, 13 different teams with a lot of players. So we have quite a big amount of coaches to help to develop. And what we are trying to do is to provide them with knowledge and different kind of skill enhancing initiatives. We do it in one way that we are going to present a little bit deeper today in some kind of formal education format. But we also provide knowledge to the coaches in a lot of informal ways. We are right now building up a new platform where the coaches can go if they want to learn more, and they should be able to go there in between their formal education. We have in Sweden a license, a coaching license that they need to take or have to take if they are thinking about standing in the on the bench during games. But as you will see, that will not be enough to develop high quality coaches because of the amount of days and the amount of hours in the formal part is not enough. So right now we're done with the formal education format, which I soon going to present, but we are putting a lot of effort into building a structure for this informal learning. It can be in physical courses, it can be in digital parts, and it can also be in study groups within clubs. And we also have come to the final, I would say, to the part where I have gotten our communication department or marketing department to understand that even our communication or our social media strategies can have some learning content in them for the coaches, so that we can help the coaches develop whenever they want to develop, so they don't have to wait for our courses all the time. That's all made for their license, as I said. That's for understanding. When we started to restructure coaching curriculum, we had just made this decision that we will, in our development model, move more towards the scientific part of knowledge and not only depend on or rely on our experience. So when we started to look at all the theories that are behind what we now have in our curriculum, we ended up focusing on 4 different theories, or actually 3 at that time, and those are the 3 first put up here in the bullet points. Is a self-determination theory, which for you hasn't heard of that, is a motivation, a theory about what are the necessary psychological needs that every human being have in order to stay in the business. So the self-determination talks a lot about the feeling of competence, the feeling of togetherness, and the feeling of autonomy. If we can make sure that each and every player has that, and each and every coach has that, the chances that they will stay within hockey or within the separate club will increase rapidly. The other theory, if I give that one a quick explanation, is the achievement goal theory. It talks a lot about the importance of focusing more on the process of the performance and not focusing that much on the outcome or the result. So it's through to focusing on what we can control that we will develop as a player or as a coach or as a team. We also took a lot of inspiration from the transformational coaching theory, which actually says that you as a coach, you can stimulate your players to be motivated, to get the right kind of motivation. So ambition is not a constant factor. With a good coach, your motivation can switch so that you actually be more motivated, that you can find your passion for hockey and stay within hockey for a lifelong time. And then quite recently, we started to look a little bit deeper into the theory of ecological dynamics. Talk a lot about how we design our drills, how we design our practice sessions, how we can take in consideration the knowledge and experience on each and every individual player, which of course differs depending on when you started to play hockey, where you started to play hockey, if you have done other sports and all of that. I will come back just a little bit towards that when we talk about drill design, which is of course one part of our coaching curriculum as well. So what I wanted to say with this picture is that we haven't been guessing when we put up our content. We have done our research to look into what research are out there in order to get good coaches in all our hockey clubs. When we started to restructure our coaching curriculum, we felt that in order to provide a coaching or education environment where the coaches actually get a good chance to learn stuff, we quite early understood that we can't only just throw new knowledge at them and hope that they will learn. We need to put up a learning environment which can help them learn. I mean, we can't really teach them anything. They need to learn themselves. We can help them in that process. And we do that with, of course, to put up some new knowledge out there for them. But we also need to help them to self-reflect on the new knowledge. We need to help them put this new knowledge into some kind of application. Most often we work with some kind of case-related pedagogy when we work with the coaches. And the fourth part, last here, but not the least important, is the shared experience amongst coaches. Because if we have our coaches and we can build up some kind of psychological safe zone within the physical room, we have the coaches so that they are willing to share, so they're willing to show what they don't know. We can make sure that the total amount of knowledge in the room is much higher than each and every educator has. So if we can create an environment or a mode in the room, they will help each other to develop quite much more than the expert can reach out to them with. It's hard because we want to put out so much knowledge to them, but in order to be able to find the time for self-reflection, for case application, and for shared experience, we need kind of to kill our darlings when it comes to the content that we will present on the physical parts of the education. Therefore, the whole digital part has been so incredibly important for us to get a coaching curriculum that can serve to give them as much knowledge that we think is important. So most of our coaching courses today are also in some kind of hybrid form, where one part is a physical course when they meet and share experiences, and the other part is a digital part where they can learn and where they can do whatever they want to actually. So this has been quite a hard process for us, because we also came from a coaching curriculum where one educator sent a lot of messages, and participants just sat there and tried to understand what they really said. We're right now, I can say that this time as well, we're right now in the middle of evaluating this. We have sent out a questionnaire to several coaches that had gone through our new coaching curriculum, and to coaches that hasn't, and asked them about what of the things that they learn will stack and will end up in some change of behavior after 3 months, after 6 months, after a year, and the result that we can see already is quite good. So I strongly believe that we're onto something in our structure of our coaching curriculum, and it's not all about the content. It's quite a lot about the format and how they're getting the possibility to actually learn things that will stick over time as well. I will stay with this picture for a little bit. Our experience when we educate coaches and talk to coaches are that they are so focused on how they can help the players get better, so that they almost forget about that the coaching education is mostly about how they will be a better coach tomorrow than they are today. So we need to help them sometimes to focus on their competence and knowledge when it comes to hockey specific stuff. I don't think I need to dig any deeper into that for you guys. It's all about the skating part, the shooting part, the passing part, and the tactics and the techniques and all of that. Of course, they need to be quite good at that. But even more important, I think, to set up this great environment to help the players learn is your competence on communication, how you talk to players, how you can understand that the players are not only hockey players, they are also human beings with physical and psychological needs. The feedback part, of course, that you need to know when to get feedback, when to help the players self-reflect, and when to instruct. That's quite a good part of a coach's competence, that they need to sort that out. And then we have the coaches themselves. I mean, we need to get coaches who will continuously learn and are willing to get better. And one strong tool for that is self-reflection. To take your time after practices and games to reflect on what happened and what you could do better next time. So we are really trying to help the coaches to get some tools to do the self-reflection part. And then in hockey, and it's more important the higher up in the elite level you get, is the coach's own health and well-being. It's really important that we can get coaches out there who will stand and will have an environment that, I mean, if we can keep each and every coach 1 or 2 years more on their coaching journey, it will help us a lot, because the faster they quit, the more effort we need to develop new coaches. So we need them to focus on their own competence, their own needs as coaches, and not run away to focus on the players too fast. That's what they will deliver when they get home. But when we have them in coaching curriculum, coaching education, we really need to focus on to get better coaches. But as you can see, the coaching, as I said at the beginning, the coaching education and that curriculum aims to get this environment for the players where they can perform, where they are motivated, have competence as a player, where they can feel that they are progressing and developing over time, that they have joy and fun. Because we know from research as well that joy and fun, when we have asked our players what that is, it's nothing more than good, high quality player developed environments. So it's not smiles and laughter only. Of course, that's important as well. So joy and fun really connects with high quality player development. But also for the players' part, it's important for the coaches to work with their health and well-being. We are right now in a process of asking our junior players at the elite level and also the women at our senior elite league about their psychological health, and try to find out what are stressing them, how do they feel, in order to get help them to get a better support from their coaches. So it's a complex picture, and I think that's important for you guys to understand. I'm sure you already do that, but it's not about just putting out content into a curriculum. It's a lot about to make sure that you know what you are aiming for and what environments you want in your clubs, because that's where your players spend the most of their time, even though we as the National Federation or Association sometimes borrows them and try to develop them a little bit more. The high percentage of time that they spend are in the club environment, and that's why it's important to develop and educate those coaches. If we go through how our coaching curriculum looks like today, I just put out the amount of hours or even the days that the coaches need to go through to get their coaching license. And a reminder once again, this is the formal part of our coaching curriculum, and then we're working quite hard right now to put up the informal part where they can learn 24/7 whenever they want to. We start today with the introduction education for our coaches at our hockey school. We have a concept in Sweden called Three Crowns Hockey School. It's a national team's name, Three Kronor. And those coaches that we put on the ice there, they need to go through a one-day physical education where they actually learn some basic stuff on how they gather small kids, how they get the kids' attention, how they will set up a structure during practices so that the kids are active enough. Actually, it's not a lot about hockey, but it's in a hockey environment. Then we have a basic course on 15 hours that everyone, regardless on your pathway, if you want to be a youth or kids coach, or if you're aiming for a goalie coach, if you're aiming for a elite coach, you must go through the basic course. And I'm going to use the basic course as an example to look into our different modules so that you can see what the content are in that education. Then if you are a coach at the BNU, stands for child and youth, we have two separate educations of child and youth. It's step one, is on 21 hours. And that's the education that you need to take if you're going to coach kids under 11. And then we have the child and youth course 2, which is in 16 hours, and it's more to get the coaches ready to what will come when you coach kids and youth that are entering the puberty and the years to come after that. I think we, in time, will need a BU3 level for the coaches that are on our early junior years and our late youth years as well. Because today we need to get some more into that. So it's 2 steps on the child youth level, and then we have the junior senior. The junior senior 1 and the BU1 is almost the same content. We just adapt it towards the age of the players and the skill level players. Then we have a module where we talk a lot about the training theory when it comes to what happens in the most part, the physiology parts, how you respond on this or that type of training and when you should train different stuff. And then comes the junior senior level 2, which is for the coaches that actually aims for an elite career as coaches. Today are coaching our next generation of elite players. So the numbers of hours increases for them. And then we have the elite coach education, which actually is in 12 days divided into 2. 3 modules times 4 days, when they dig a lot deeper into their own coaching philosophy, and they do quite a lot of homework as well, and they need to film themselves, to watch and reflect on their behaviors as a coach, both during practices and during games. It's quite an interesting process where most of the coaches are kind of surprised when they look upon themselves and their behaviors, and they sometimes don't even remember how mad they were at some parts. But it's a good lesson for a lot of them, and it's they also get a mentor. They get actually a sports psychologist to reflect together with during this coach, and that helps them a lot. And then we have the pathway for the goalie coaches. We have in Sweden now, in our competition regulations, that pointed out now that we really want to have a goalie coach in each and every team. That's hard to reach, of course, but the quality of the coach, the goalies, the quality of the goalies' education during practice and during games gets much better if they have a separate goalie coach who actually focuses on them. If they don't have it, the team coaches unfortunately tend to sometimes forget about the goalies, which is not good for their motivation, of course. If we go just quickly through our basic course content, and the target group for that one are learning outcomes. The target group for our basic course, which we put through like between 3,000 and 4,000 coaches through that course each and every year, and it's for everyone who intends to be active as a coach, no matter of level, as I said. Even though if you're aiming for elite coach level, or if you just want to coach your son or your daughter, you should go through this pathway, even though for our former elite players who want to go become a coach. And there you can also see what we're aiming for, some kind of learning outcomes. And we talk quite a lot of what we want them to have knowledge of, what we want them to have the ability to, and what we want them to have or show insight into. On the basic course, we want them to have knowledge of our development model, which is quite complex if you dig deep into it. So we spend some time on that. We spend some time on what children and young people think makes sports fun, and how motivational processes work. We talk quite a lot already at this stage on why it's beneficial to focus on behaviors, both as a coach when you're getting feedback to your players, but also to focus on your own behaviors as a coach, because that's something that you can change. It's harder if you talk about how you are, or how you want to be, how you want other people to look at you. But when you focus on behaviors, it's easier for you to change that. We want them after this coach education to be able to understand the psychological needs of the players. There's a lot connected to those theories that we're building this coach curriculum on as a foundation. And it all ends up in knowledge surrounding how you create development environments for the players, as I said, regarding of their skill level of ambition at the time, because everyone should have the opportunity to develop. And that's probably the hardest part for some coaches who will focus just on the best at the time, and to understand that you don't know at all age which one will become the best ones. And from kind of a health perspective, it's really important that we keep all the players in the game as long as possible. So we work quite a lot on that kind of understanding for our coaches. So if we just look into the modules, we have, I think it's like 15 different modules that makes the content of it. And as I said, we spend some time on our development model, how it all connects. talk a little about how the coaching curriculum is structured. Then we focus on each and every coach reason to be a coach, the why part. We think that's a really, really important part for their own self-reflection to talk a little bit about why you are a coach, how you want to be perceived, and we have a model called the ARROW model, which helps them focus on their behaviors. And then we go through some of the content and the findings in our Fun Map study, which we did together with Dr. Amanda Disick at George Washington University, and that connects quite a lot, as I said, towards the theories of motivation, both the self-determination, the achievement goal theory. Keep focusing on those behaviors because we think they are so important for our coaches to understand, and we have learned through the process that it takes quite a long time for them to separate what are actually our behaviors and what's not. And then we focus quite a lot on the part that's about physical activity and health, because we get quite a lot of money from the government to set up hockey in our clubs, and they expect us to deliver good and healthy people, and not people who have been abused or have been put into some environments that are not healthy. So it's a lot about to understand the long-term development part of that, which is hard for some coaches. I can tell you, they want to win today, but that's the players' task to try to win. The coaches at youth and kids level, they need to focus on a much longer perspective, and that takes some time for them to understand. And I guess some just never understands it. So it's a constant challenge for us. Then we move on to talk a little bit about the basic motor skills and how we can make sure that the kids get a wide variety of that with them, both as a hockey player, but of course from a health perspective in their life outside of hockey as well. Some basic training principles towards that. Move on to talk about risks and injuries. We spent just an hour, of course, but still it's quite a big amount of time that we want the coaches to understand the importance of the overload problems that can be both physical if you specialize on just ice hockey too early and do too much, but also the mental risks that we have if you just play hockey and never plays other sports or do other stuff in your life. So some kind of understanding within our coaches so that they can minimize the risk for burnout amongst the young players. And then, of course, we will have some hockey content as well. Our experience is that the coaches are asking for the book of drills, of course, but they are almost always former players of some kind. So they have most often relative good knowledge surrounding this. So we can just help them to understand that player development is a long-term process and it takes time. You don't need to hurry. That's basically the most important message that they get at this time. And then, of course, we try to tell them what to focus on at which development level. We're going to talk about the basic knowledge of ice hockey. Is more about that we are both playing offensively and defense, and we have times when we have the puck and times that we don't have the puck, and help them to understand the whole complexity of hockey, just some kind of introduction to hockey tactics. And then we move on to more concrete stuff where we go down and talk about both training session design, but also down to drill design. And I'm sure that Bob will connect to this as well. But we know when we talk about the ecological dynamic theory that we want to move away from the isolated skill drills as much as possible and give the kids and youth, and even though our elite players environments during the practices that are more game-like and more functional when they get out there to play. We have this example from our junior world championships. We have this great skater in Sweden. If you look at him alone on the ice, he can do the most incredible things. When you see him in practice, it looks so nice and great. When you put him into high intense games to what US or Canada, his skills are not that functional, so he doesn't really, he can't really get out the stuff that he needs during game. And there were a lot of examples of that. So it's focusing on more game functional things. A lot of puck touches. It should be challenging for all the players. There should be many variety of a lot of repetitions, like repetition without repetition. A lot of decision making, and also time for the players to reflect, and not for the coaches to come there and instruct and give feedback immediately, but to ask the players on how they experience the situation and what other solutions they could have made. And we think that will help them develop in a more proper way, in a better way. I'm sure you can read a lot about this in a lot of different books and stuff. Yeah, and then we should just move on to focus on this, to dig a little bit deeper into these parts, and then the education is done. And just a short brief also on the learning outcomes from the BU1 and BU2. And what we do actually, if we just dig a little bit deeper into the understanding, the knowledge, what we want them to be able to, what we want them to have insight into. But just to put up these has helped a lot to get the content of place, actually. So I think if you should do anything, when you are restructuring or building up your coaching curriculum, do this part properly from the beginning and not just move on directly to the content. That's a main message, I think, from this presentation. And we're the same things here at BU2. And of course, we can share this with everyone if they want to copy it and if they believe it works in their context as well. Just as the last slide, just to turn back to this context of our curriculum, we will, with this part, help the coaches to set up a good, high quality environment for our players, regardless of what they are at the skill level today or ambition today. We need to be able to work with teams that have players at different levels. Will always be like this. We'll always have the best player and the worst player in your team, no matter of age or level. So you just need to deal with it. And the better you are to do that, the better the chances that we'll keep the kids and the youth within the game. But then we can't forget about the clubs, especially the sporting management of the clubs. They need to help the coaches to deliver what they are asked to do. So with that, Joel, I think I will stop. I'm not sure about the time frame, but I hope I'm